Hi, welcome everyone to the Vercel Community Live Sessions. My name is Jacob Harris from the Vercel Community team. We're streaming this live out to X and YouTube, but if you want to participate in the chat, please come into community.vercel.com. You can find the events here, click going, and you'll be able to unlock the chat where you can participate. We're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end, so feel free to drop any questions. Just like one more reminder to please follow our code of conduct if you're going to hang out in the chat. So remember to be respectful. And I would like to introduce our guest today. Welcome, Raf.
Jacob, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to see you again. Raf and I met a few months ago at a community co-working event here in Toronto. So
that was very fun.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on to talk to us today. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Of course. I'm Raf. It's a shorter of a full Italian name that is a bit of a mess. I work as a senior product designer and design engineer. The long story is like I have a software engineer background, but I work all my life as a product designer, and very excited to be here and showing some stuff that people told me it's kind of cool, and I would love to demonstrate a bit more of what's ahead and what I think V0 is really great at for a product design perspective.
Cool. Yeah, we'd really like to see some of that. Out of curiosity, how long have you had a design engineer title? Like Vercel is the first company I've seen that started using that, but I see they seem to be pretty popular now.
So that's a good question. I think Vercel most likely standardize it, but the way I say design engineer is not like adding cute things or animations or look at this page, how look at the hover and things. I feel like the craft it's more like holistically speaking, and I've been calling myself design engineer. I do think that there's a point where there's also this part of like, hey, being an AI product designer per se, where the ultimate experience is what matters and how we get there, which is not most likely just adding a little bit of things here and there to feel like, that could have been different, but now there's some flair and there's some motion. Doesn't make sense. I feel like there's a lot that got lost into the fleshy part of like seeing something that is animated, but that's not what I think design engineer looks like. I'm trying to stay a bit away of that, just showing things more with more intentionality per se.
Yeah, I really like that. You mentioned AI product engineer. What does that mean to you? Is that a product engineer who uses AI? Do you build AI products?
So I'm gonna give you an analogy, Jacob, to you and to all the people listening. I don't think AI should be like the salt at the end of a dish. So you don't put it at the end. It should be baked in. Okay. So I don't know. I don't think that like having a conversation on the titles really matter, because like companies right now are still figuring that out. And guess what? We are still figuring that out. I am still figuring that out. I was also stoked about coming here and showing people how I've been using this for a project recently. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to have the opinion of how I draw the line between product engineer, AI product engineer, product designer engineer, or whatever. But I do think that AI is the new normality, and we should even stop thinking about it or talking about it. Think about electricity, okay? We don't talk about electricity anymore. We don't talk about, oh, wow, we have the Wi-Fi because of the electricity. Is here, and it has to be here, and we need to adapt with it.
It's kind of like we brought email and e-commerce and all these other words with e prefixes, because when they first came out, it was novel to do all of that on the internet, and somehow those have managed to stay baked into our little lexicon here.
And we have a great opportunity to shape it, right? Because it's still so new and still what excites me the most. That's why I do mostly contracting or jumping here and there with work, big companies, startups, just because I feel like it's an exciting space, and we should be optimistic about defining it, not being sad or thinking about, oh, what's gonna happen next if this is happening, whatever. Does it make sense?
Yeah. When I think companies, they take a little time to adapt to all the new stuff that comes around. So if you're working on, contracts, if you're getting exposure to a lot of different companies there, then you must be able to see companies at all stages of that, of the AI adoption, being able to see kind of in real time how everything is evolving in the AI space.
I guess, yeah. No, I agree with you. I feel like the adoption part is interesting, but I guess what matters at the end is really the intent, like the intentionality of why you're doing it in the first place. Like what matters to you? Because if I come to you and for you, speed is not a problem. Like you're having two different conversations, right? I'm not gonna peel you about what AI is offering you if you're not open-minded to think about there are new ways you can do your work. Actually, your work is different, but you're not aware of it. It's kind of like the same analogy. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot with analogies today. I don't know what happened. Maybe the weather in Toronto today. But anyway, I do a lot of analogies, but I do think that is the inflection point of the horse and the car, right? Like you would still use a horse, but then the cars are appearing or arriving. But like, wait, hold on. It's kind of like this inflection transition point. So yeah, no, it's novelty of also companies and the change, but ultimately we're gonna get there.
So what has changed? What was your design process like prior to AI? And then what is it like now? How have you adopted that and brought that into your kind of day-to-day skill set? I think that's something a lot of people are interested in, because it's easy to see all the gurus on Twitter and online talking about how now they can design whole products in minutes here, but it's tough to see how this actually works from someone who's not just trying to grift everyone.
It's a good question. I'm not a guru at all. I don't plan to be a guru. I do this stuff too much. But what I can share with you, and what I think is also usable and valuable for this session, is moving fast into the product design within the browser itself with styles that are consistent. And what I mean by that is I've been using V0 as one of my first main AI tools for experimenting and having new ideas, and just more like kind of like a companion. Think about an LLM, but rather than having a text response, you have really a UI response that you can prototype and you can act on it. That for me was really, really, really crazy. So the way I use it and the way I'm going to show it too, if you allow me, is what happens when you want to accelerate the speed of AI of development when you have already styles in place. Let's say V0 is great at the zero part. That's why it's called V0, because it's the V0. But let's say you are already somewhere around 1 point something and you want to go to 10, or you want to arrive to the point where there's some alignment that needs to happen from a product perspective, and you need to be able to show some screens or some flows at that to gather the buy-in or the approvals in. That's what I think has been really useful, and that's kind of like what I've been using Figma plugin and V0 a lot. Did you want to see it? I don't know if it's not.
Yeah. If you could share that, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I before I start sharing my screen, giving you a quickly brief overview of what we're gonna do today, I want to show you a very opinionated Figma file that has already some styles and some tokens implemented from a Shatsi and design from Matt, which is a paid resource. And then we're going to use it. I'm going to show you what I did, what I changed with a plugin. We're going to export it and bring it to V0. So you're going to see in just 2 lines how I'm able to have a system and some screens that are kind of like great for what's my purpose, which is using existing design to validate certain screens and not just having the blank Shatsi and components from V0. Sounds good?
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Okay, let's get into it. And now by the way, I usually joke when I'm having meetings, and it's like, oh, now is the moment of sharing my screen, but this StreamYard thing that we're using, it's quite nice. Okay, so I'm just gonna share my Figma, then we're gonna go to V0. So for Figma, that's the resource I'm talking about, Jacob. So Matt is an amazing guy. He has been working on this for a long time, and basically the template is exactly what Shatsi and library is available on the browser, but in Figma. So in this project, this is kind of like customized. This is the look and feel I wanted to have. We wanted to have for this product, right? And you can see that these styles are not really hard coded. What I mean by hard coded is there's not hex values or things. Everything is mapped through a system where you see the base and everything is like really mapped it out. And this is where my product design work started. Of like, okay, this is the kind of like look and feel that I want, and I can play with layouts and some application blocks that we have and some examples. And like, there's all the blocks from the template, and I can also see it here in place of like, okay, this kind of like looks something I want to get out of here, while still maintaining, the fact that this is a startup, is a 0 to 1, it needs to be really fast. Okay. So when I arrived to this point that I'm kind of like happy with what I have with the field, this is like a team preview that he has. I'm going to go to this plugin called Token Studio. What Token Studio does for me is basically, here you see everything is well styled. There's a custom font. There's a lot of stuff happening. The styles are really complex. I can also show you the team ideally. Matt is great. Shout out to Matt. Really. So when I'm here, I can load and export from the plugin all of this meaty stuff that is going to take me probably a couple of days just to feed V0 with, just to say, this and that. I can export everything into a single file that includes all the token sets. And it's going to basically give me you call it raw values from an engineer perspective? How would you define them?
Yeah, something like that. Key value. Value.
So all of this is like, it's something like, if I can say to you, is something that when I was doing design systems at Zalando, I always like to think about. I don't care that we agree on the 400 that is this and this, but I care that we agree on something. So that's what I think is opinionated, and that's what I think V0 is going to help me a lot. So I will put it here in my desktop. And what I'm going to do now, coming from here, I'm going to go into V0, which we have. Can you see it, right?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Can you see it, right?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Okay. So basically, this is like an old kind of project, but basically all that I did is I tried at first at the beginning with adding fonts and trying to see if we can match this style, but to a point where update the page based on the attached tokens JSON. And I guess, yeah, this how AWS, I'm sure. But basically the file that I exported from Figma is feeding this page, which is kind of like the integration of the SHA-CN primitives, fundamental elements with our style. Because you see the focus is there, the hover is there. It's kind of like well opinionated per se, and it's fast, to be honest.
Would you be able to show in the code the globals.css file? Because that's where V0 will be reading the tokens it's imported. So if you go to the code tab on here and then click globals.css, just so people can see how V0 understands the styles.
Of course.
That one there. Yeah, so I guess it will have mapped all of these in from your tokens.json file that you just uploaded.
Exactly. And you see the dark charts and the dark theme, that the file is really well structured. So this is like really easy per se. That's basically it. So now V0 is able to, we're kind of like talking, I use this analogy that we're talking the same language, because what I mean by my font is this font. What I mean by the spacing is this spacing, and the differences and the nuances are this. Now, if you talk to me about speed and 0 to 1, I think this is great, because like we skip these things because we're gonna figure it out in the future. We need to build a product and whatever. But like having this, that's what I think AI should be. We should rethink about the way the work is being done, not just like, oh, it's just so fast and it's just too fast, but rather, hey, I can have this level of quality. And even if like, I'm sure maybe in a month or two, the guys that want to change something, we can do it also on the go or right now and test it out. It's just, we need to be confident with the speed that we can have to arrive to a point where basically I can also talk a bit more and have full product screens based on this. And I can literally ask V0. This is stuff that I've done after. after I imported the tokens, where I'm like, hey, let's see if I want to have an experience app. And because this was kind of like the product was about. And I don't know you, Jacob, I don't know how many of these you see, but like, I think it's kind of interesting, no? Like to come to a meeting with something like that, where you have an idea and you just like, you know what, we're going to build on top of it. Not giving you a whatever random UI.
Yeah. No, this looks beautiful, and since so many, like one of the big innovations that ShadCN made was you could pull all the components, you could kind of vendor them into your code base, so you can fully edit, you can fully customize them, and I feel like that worked for a little bit until now. Every AI generator, every AI UI builder out there is all using ShadCN components because it likes that level of composability. Hey, that's us. It likes that level of composability, but then now we get a world where all websites, they just look like the default ShadCN UI, because no one goes into depth and no one customizes it. So being able to just be able to take your company's styles from Figma, and all of a sudden now your AI generations, they look just like your brand, because this is compatible with the ShadCN tokens that everything is already using. I think that's super powerful. And if you're at your company and you're doing a demo or a presentation, and you can show something, you can say, hey, I spun up this little tool. We had this conversation in a meeting, and I gave it a try, and it already looks like it belongs in our company, not like some random one-off boilerplate bootstrap template or something like that. I think that's so powerful here.
Jacob, I remember this was back then. I was really into Framer X at the beginning, because was the tool that allowed me to prototype with design. And it's coming to a meeting with a prototype, and now it feels coming to a meeting with this V0 team style. It's exactly that kind of like feeling that I used to have, in terms of like, it's kind of like a wow effect of what is now being possible and what we should double down on it. And V0 on this has been incredible, to be honest with you. From this part until also the I don't have the chats, the messages here ready, but like even this, it's been a couple of messages just trying to like brief it down and try to understand, okay, how, based on these ingredients, what is the dish? Okay. I think it's valuable, something that like we as designers, we should embrace it more, to rethink about the fact that right now technology is not an issue, and taste is what matters the most, right? So maybe there are a lot of things here, some elements that maybe they're not going to be there. Maybe it's going to be more brutalist. Maybe there's going to be more white air or white space, or wider gaps. But as a starting point, it's quite powerful.
It really is. So would you say you use V0 as, or you see V0 as a design tool itself? Like that's your main, your main use case for V0 as a product is another tool in your design toolkit?
Oh yeah, big time, for sure. There's always been in me this feeling, and now it's stronger than ever, where users are not gonna see your Figma. Sorry, it's really that simple. Your users are not going to see your Figma, so we need to fall in love with how it actually looks in the browser, because some of these things in Figma are incredible, right? But the nuance and the complexity that now is not so complex or so hard anymore. Is it because of V0, tools like V0, that allows us to like bridge the gap? So yeah.
Yeah, as a developer, I always got even a little bothered when a designer would hand off an interactive prototype in Figma for me, because it's like, no, I want to be able to see the spacings, the paddings, the font sizes, the colors you use, and all that's hidden from me when I just get this interactive thing. Like I can take a comment that says this button goes to this page. I don't need them to build that interaction for me to implement. But with V0, you kind of get the best of both worlds. I get, if a client is giving me a V0 prototype for something to build, I know that this is actually exactly what they were trying to do. They're not they're not limited by the minimal interaction capabilities that are being given to them. And also it's all in code as well already. So I can see the exact design tokens, the utility classes, everything I need to implement, and I can make it pixel perfect, and I can get that interaction perfect. And it feels like we finally combined all of them together.
Mm-hmm.
How you felt AI really changed your role up until now, and then how do you think it's going to change in the future coming in? Because it's a big unknown where AI is going to go, how fast it's going to improve, but it's definitely going to improve.
You're asking me the big bold questions, Jacob. Okay. Look, honestly, like I do think that I like to think about all the things that are changing, and I don't want to even think about too much into, oh, this is changing, oh, this is, because we need to be aware that the constant here is change. And what is not going to change is the patterns towards building meaningful experiences, thinking about people, thinking about what problems are we trying to solve, thinking about, is this the right problem before even fixing it or solving it. I'm not sure I have a good answer for you, but I think like a lot will be discovered by the new companies, by the new kids on the block, by the new people building super agile and lean teams and doing a lot of stuff. Then again, the rule of design is going to be here stronger than ever. But again, it's all about the intentionality of it versus the fact of like, okay, yeah, we can code more, we can engineer more, we can build new codes, new lines, whatever. Doesn't make sense? I feel like it's really important of what are we doing it. So maybe it's always, but
yeah, you can always do more. You can always use these tools to make you more productive. But at the end of the day, the only thing that makes your products better is caring about your users, paying attention to what problems you're actually trying to solve, doing that well, and iterating on it. And if these tools can make you more, if they can make that iteration, that feedback loop faster and faster, you can get a better product. But I guess they're not magic bullets.
We were talking about this before the live, right? About the design engineer and what does that mean. I do think that like those tools are for us to be more aware of what we are doing. Think about mirrors of like, if you really put craft and care into it, it's not really about an hover state or a flash animation. It's really about someone thought about this when I'm using a product. And you can see there are a lot of experiences where you know that someone thought about it. It's not random. And that's the feeling that we should strive. I mean, at least I'm striving to have when doing design and product engineering right now, which is how can I unlock this feeling with these tools that we have?
Would, like with all the new power that you get from being able to use AI, being now as a designer, being able to build products that are much higher fidelity, like prototypes that feel much more real. Has that changed the scope of your work? Because I assume before there was some kind of handoff where it's like, yeah, you've done your mock-ups, and then now you hand off to someone else to complete the vision there. Do you feel like you're now stepping out of your comfort zone or stepping into it?
I guess this really depends about what you are trying to do. I do feel for myself personally, this is something I always love to. I dropped university as a software engineer, and I've been working all my life as a product designer. So I always felt this kind of like feeling of going back to code in a way, of making it actionable and usable. So I do feel that like we should think more about what are the opportunities ahead. And I think a lot about it in terms of the product and the marketing and the story and the engineering as well. I don't think anymore into silos or boxes. And I don't really use that word handoff anymore. Because I feel like collaboration needs to happen to make something great. And to make something great, we need to talk about the same thing, basically. So, and that's what he said about V0, right? In the me, there are a lot of other products, but like meeting the people where they are and the way, if you're building a digital product, the way people are is the browser, there's gonna be something next. But sure, like go there and expand a broad scope into, you're not just doing one part of the thing, because years ago there was this way of thinking about things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like the original Scrum mentality, where it's like you need cross-functional teams who can, ship features end to end. And now designers have been leveled up as well, where you can be a cross-functional designer, and you can actually see your visions come to life. You can fully mock out those interactions and prototypes. What would you say the biggest win you've had with V0 has been?
The biggest win, well, when people saw this, they were like, I remember I worked for this project specifically. There were some people there inside that was like very impressed about it, but not impressed to say, like, impressed from a point of not even being aware to understand where this was going, because it's kind of like a paradigm shift. And I also like to think about, Jacob, I don't know, you were the guys at Vercel specifically, like you are at the core front of this innovation, right? So I have to think about that we are still in a small bubble. So people, for the majority, they're not aware of these things. And that's what I said at the beginning about shaping it. So all of these wins that we take with AI, they're inspiring, right? But they should tell us about how far we can go, inspiring the next generation, because that's a new way of building product. That's a new way of doing software. And I'm sure there are a lot of other things that we can do even better and more, doing it and shaping it with our intentionality.
Yeah. There's a limit to how far we can go with just ourselves, but if we can help share what we're learning, empower other designers,
that's what we
then we can take everyone with us. The whole ecosystem. The rising tide lifts all boats, as they say.
That's what we're here for.
If you were to give one tip or piece of advice to other designers in the community, using AI or using V0, what would you have in mind?
I honestly think this stuff that I showed very quickly about the style is quite popular. It's quite, because it's something that I've been hearing a lot about, struggling about. I don't know you, but like generally, especially designers, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, I tried, but doesn't really look nice, doesn't really click. So I guess the main big part is don't give up at the first shot, first of all, because you can go really far right now. I started V0 when it was a beta, and it was great, but right now I see it's just phenomenal compared to how it was. So
I remember in the initial beta of V0 when it came out, I tried it for a little bit and I'm like, okay, well, it's not really a design tool. I can't tell it make a website that looks like this. It's mostly useful if I say change this Tailwind class into this Tailwind class. And now when I look back at that, it just makes me laugh, because we've come so far.
I don't know if it happened to you, but at times you ask for a thing and then the tool V0 is creating you stuff that you didn't even thought about it, but they were nice. Like, I don't know, the focus or the hover states or small things. But I mean, you need to have intentionality. But I guess the point to other designers, coming back to your question, sorry, I ran a bit solo. It's for sure the fact of try to get away from the idea of doing something quick and fast and whatever it is, you take it, but rather think about what you can do better, because that's possible, right? Think about studying it a little bit more to go to the really big extra step. So not just coming to V0 thinking about, oh, you know what, I'm going to get the dirtiest mock that I could ever take, because guess what? It's AI, guess what? It's lab, and guess what? It's zero, whatever. But think about what are the things that you can spend a bit more of time to make it 10 times better, or in terms of the input and the context. And yes, you can. Don't be scared. Even if it's not cute or fancy as a Figma thing, it's really valuable. So that's kind of like my big piece of advice here.
Cool. Yeah, I really like that. So we're coming up on time here pretty quickly. But would you be able to jump would you be able to quickly recap the flow you had mentioned before for
Oh yeah.
going into Figma and into the Figma plugin as well, which I think people might want to find the link to. We can share the link in our community chat here.
Okay. I will recap it at voice, right? If it's fine for you.
Yeah. That's okay.
So basically, there are three things. So you do your work in Figma, because the point is you don't go straight to V0 because you want to have some custom styles, or you have some more opinionated design in mind. Once you're happy with it, you need to have styles and tokens exported, because the way it's going to work, if you have a system in place, a team in place. That's what I use the match.cn file, because it's already great for that. Then there's a plugin in Token Studio where you can export your tokens.json. Make sure that you select just everything in one file, so you get a good one single file and not multiple files. And in your friend V0, you just import it as, look, based on this, create for me an UI, or can even be already an UI that you have, but it's good to keep first the ingredients and then they can take it from there.
Yeah, you just upload the JSON file in the chat, and you tell V0 to apply it, and it'll map it to your design tokens.
That's it.
Cool. Beautiful. That's really cool. So yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. If people want to find you, talk more about this, or any of the other design work you're doing, where can they find you online?
Raf is great. LFG Raf is my Twitter. I'm kind of like active there. I'm trying to post more. I use LinkedIn still, but it's fine. Twitter, I guess, is fine.
Yeah, so LFG Raf on Twitter.
Yep. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. All right, yeah, thank you everyone for joining and hanging out in the chat. We have another community session coming up next week on Monday, October 28th with Crossmint. So please come sure to check that out. And until then, we'll see you all in the community. Bye, everyone.